Today is all about germination and getting your seed started for the growing season. Welcome back to Better Terra, the channel dedicated to helping you create a beautiful and plentiful garden. Today, we're going to talk about some tips and tricks that I use for germination and getting your seed started for the coming growing season. This is my germination station, and it's tucked away here in out of the way area of my basement. Here's a treadmill, an elliptical machine, a return duct, and the door that goes out to my office and family area. This shelf is quite basic. It's one that I started with about 3 seasons ago. There's things that I like about it, and there's things that I don't like about it. We'll get into that in a little while. It doesn't come with any lights. What it comes with are the shelves, the tent, and that's it. I, over the seasons, have upgraded, adding my own lights. I have some heat mats. A couple of things that I like about it is it's fairly cheap. It's easy to move around. As you can see, I mean, it's not super sturdy, but it gets the job done. I do wish it were a bit deeper. As you can see, this is a 1020 nursery tray. And as you can see, it's the perfect width. But whenever you go to put 2 side by side, one in the back and one in the front, there isn't enough shelf space. So you have one that hangs way out the front, hangs way out the back, and then it's not under the lights where you need your seedlings. So I do wish it were a little bit deeper. And that's something that I'll probably look at changing maybe for next season, is finding a very similar shelf, but that is maybe a little bit deeper. On the top shelf here, I have some house plants that we've overwintered. Got some alocasias in the back, or colocasias. We had some big problem with spider mites end of last year. These were nothing. They were all the way dead down to the soil. So over the winter, we've been nursing them back. Got some spider plant starters here. These will be moving out to the greenhouse here within the next couple of weeks. We're starting to get better weather. So they'll be out, and more of our seed starters will occupy the top shelf. I have a set of starters here that I started last week. It's peppers and eggplants. And as you can see, even after a week, I have sprouts. Almost everything has shown above the dirt. Today I started tomatoes, and that's what's on the shelf down here. Talking about a couple of other things that I have on the shelf here is I've added a clip-on fan. I have the heat mat, temperature gauge here. I have integrated into my home automation system a soil moisture detector, and then a temperature and humidity probe back here that's running through a microcontroller. It talks to my home automation platform. It's an open source platform called Home Assistant. I can talk about that in another episode because I have automation going here in the grow shelf and also out in the greenhouse. I think that is an episode all in its own. So I monitor temperature and humidity, and based on temperature, I have the fan kick on and off. So it pulls cool air from the bottom of the tent, and I have a slit in the top of the cover where it can blow out some of the warm air when it gets too hot in here. The lights fulfill 2 functions, providing light and also a lot of heat. So I try to keep the inside of the tent when the front is closed down, when it's zip closed, at about 80 degrees. The seedlings seem to love that. The alocasias go crazy over it. The lights are also on an automation cycle. The top shelf right now, I have it coming on a 12-hour on and off cycle, and it starts at 8 p.m. and goes to 4 a.m. in the morning. Right now the seed are in a germination mode where that just lights on 24 hours. I'll get a little bit into here how I like to start my seeds. I reuse these little starting pots that I've gotten at nurseries and greenhouses or dug out of the neighbor's trash for several years running. My seed starting medium is in here, and then I sprinkle on the top a small layer, maybe a 1/4 of an inch layer of vermiculite. I find that the vermiculite on top is kind of an insulating layer. The warmth got some evaporation of the moisture, and the vermiculite holds a lot of moisture. It's in a lot of your potting mixes. It prevents compaction and holds a lot of moisture. So during my germination, I put a little bit on the top. It holds moisture and really promotes that germination process. The soil that I use, or the medium that I use, is a store-bought bagged seed starting mix from Fertiloom. I'll leave a link down in the description if I can find one. I buy it from a local nursery. It works really well. It's cheap. I've tried making my own seed starting mix in the past, and I've had very mixed results with that. You know, buying the raw materials and then mixing it together. I've had funguses and molds and all kinds of crazy stuff. Some bugs form. I find that when I use a store-bought, it saves me a ton of time. It's not super expensive, and I don't have a lot of those funguses and pests that I've had in the past. So make your own decision. My time is worth something, and yours probably is too. So going out and buying a bag, a few bags at a time, putting it in the shed, it lasts a long time, you know, before you use it. I don't reuse year to year, but a little bit goes a long way when you have a big bag of the starting mix. Talking about the soil or the seedling mix that I use, whenever you get it, it's very, very dry. And if you put it in the cups or whatever you're using, and then you try to water it, it's very resistant to absorbing the water when you top water like that. That's a property of those inert peat mosses and coconut coir, things that they use. So it's very important to put your soil in a bucket or a bin, water it, and then give it a good mix. And then whenever you squeeze it, it should feel like a damp sponge, a wrung out sponge. That's the moisture, the starting moisture content that you're looking for. And you'll see it's a lot easier to pack the soil into the cups, into your starting trays, whatever you're going to use. I do it on the back deck. I did the tomatoes this morning. It was really cold. I mixed it in a bucket really quick and filled the cups up fast. And actually I took the trays inside and finished the rest. But whenever I did the peppers and everything, I did it on the back deck, pack the cups, put the seeds in, and then spread the vermiculite on the top. I labeled just by writing over the old factory label here so I remember what's in them. When you're filling the cup, you want to make sure that it's packed in semi-firmly. Not super tight, but not really, really loose. You want enough soil that'll hold the root structure once it starts going, and then you won't have a lot of plants that tend to sag. So that's the planting medium that I use, the soil that I use. Reuse the cups. The seeds are next pretty important. I tend to buy my seeds from a few different sources. I could put links to that down below. One of them is here in Missouri. You've probably seen it online. It's called rareseeds.com. It's only a few hours away. When we order, we get free shipping, and it's here within a few days. They've got great seeds and a lot of rare varieties. Getting your seed from a source that you aren't sure of, you could be getting old seeds or seeds that have been through extreme temperatures or freezing, and your germination rate might be super low. So use fresh seeds, get them from a source that you can rely on, and then store your seeds in something that works for you. This works really well for us. This is a photo storage box. I love this. I'm going to get another one because I'm outgrowing it. Each one has, this one is tomatoes. I have squashes and peppers. I have some with flowers and herbs. Not super expensive, and as you can see, these stack on shelves really nice. You can label everything. These are great options for storing your seeds. Again, I can put a link down below. Good quality seeds, store them in a good way, and you'll have packets of seeds that'll last you for a few seasons until you run out. It's time to buy more. After you've got your planting medium, or I'll call it soil just for ease, and you've got your seed, the next thing is moisture. I use a couple of different methods for moisture. Like these down here, I just planted. Let me see if I can get one of them out here without spilling it. Maybe I can. I just planted these tomatoes this morning. So one method I'll use for watering, before I see any foliage or any green, I just use a spray bottle and moisten the top pretty well, getting that vermiculite to soak up and hold that moisture. I normally do this in the morning. Give it a good soaking. Do that in the morning. I'll check it again in the evening. If it seems like it's dry, I'll give it another spritz. So that's before germination is complete and you get a sprout. Once I get a sprout like these, this is a fairy tale eggplant. When I get a sprout, then I use this small watering can. It's empty right now, but then I water around, avoiding getting the foliage wet. Just like you would in the garden. You don't want your foliage to get wet because that promotes bacteria, promotes funguses. So water around your sprout. When they start to get a little bit bigger and they're consuming more and more water, then they're sitting in trays like this, except for this front row, because it doesn't fit two rows. I'll actually fill the tray with water and allow it to soak from the bottom up, watering. All of these have holes in the bottom, and it'll pull the water up from below. Just be careful not to overwater. If you notice when you do that, there's standing water afterward. Try not to do that. You'll learn like how much a tray will take. Too little is sometimes better than not enough, because you don't want your roots sitting in soggy soil and promoting rot. Also, bottom watering tends to promote deeper root growth. So let's go on to the next kind of obvious, is the lights. You got your soil, you've got your seed, your watering. Your new seedlings are going to need light. And some seeds are light triggered germination. So they need light to start germination. My light cycle for germination is 24 hours a day in the beginning, until I get past the first set of leaves, and then I'll go to a 16 or an 18-hour light cycle a day. So these lights are LED tubes. They're pretty intense. I buy them, they come in 6, and right now I have 12 of them. Purchased some last year. I only had 2 shelves worth with 3 lights on each little suspended set here. This year I bought another set of 6. I added another shelf and I added another light to each apparatus. These lights don't come like this. I 3D printed a clip that fits into this aluminum extrusion. I don't know if you can see it here. This is the aluminum extrusion. Oop, need my... So they fit on there, makes a little, a little fixed light unit. And these are for the For the extrusion, these little L brackets here is when I have this ratcheting, raise and lowering. These are for greenhouses for suspending lights and fans and ducts and all kinds of stuff. I got them in a package a couple of seasons ago. Came with a whole bunch of them, probably 20 or more. They never go bad, you know, unless you abuse them. They have a lot of extra length, so if I could probably go from all the way to the ceiling and suspend something. This is how I do it. This isn't how you have to do it or should do it. This works for me. It would probably work for you. So if you wanted to put something together like this, I can put a link to the 3D printed file, to the file if you would like to 3D print your clips. These are the kind of lights that I used my first season. These worked. They're not very intense. They don't fit in here very good because trying to clip it on and then get them on top of the seeds, you're pretty limited. These are good for giving light to a house plant over the winter. So we still use these, but just not on our seed starters. So right now the lights are right down on top of the soil, and as it grows, I'll raise the lights to the bottom of the shelf. And then once the plant is to the bottom of the light, it's raised as high as it's going, then it's out to the greenhouse. Now that I'm thinking, another super important thing about your light height above the growing, if it's too far away, if your lights are too far away from your sprouts or off to the side, you'll get really leggy sprouts. So you'll have really long, skinny, and weak stems because they're going to stretch to the light source. So having your light as close to the seed as possible, very, very important. If you're in a greenhouse and it's natural light, you won't tend to have super leggy sprouts. If you do your sprouts in front of a window, they're going to stretch to the window to where that natural light is. So you could get leggy sprouts then. So with the light is the warmth inside your germination area. I have some seed warming mats here. These are currently not, this is the temperature probe that runs through this unit here. The seed mats, there's 2 of them, are triggered by this. You can poke it in the soil, or I use it to just measure air temperature and then kick on if it gets lower. Usually when this is closed up, it doesn't get anywhere near needing that. I have the heat mat set to 75, but the tent maintains 80 rather easily. So a good warm area, if you don't have a tent, definitely get the germination mats. These work really great. I'll add links to everything. So with the heat and all of these lights on, it'll easily get over 90 degrees in the tent here. So I have this clip-on fan from Amazon. It's connected to a smart power switch in the back, and whenever the temperature reads over, I think, 82, it kicks on and it pulls cool air from underneath the tent, blows it up through the shelves, and then I have a slit, kind of a vent cut back here in the back where it blows out excess heat. Once your seedlings start getting some height on them, the heat isn't as important. I then open the top. I have a pedestal fan over there, and then I have it oscillating across the seedlings. Airflow is super important. Causing your seedling to have some movement makes the stems strong and resilient, and you're conditioning them for whenever it's time for them to go outside and there's wind and rain and things like that. So you want a good strong stem whenever it's time to transplant outside. So airflow and air movement once your seedlings get established is pretty important. So once they get past the germination stage, get past the first leaf sprouts, get some height to them, then the tent goes open. I turn off the automation for the underneath fan, then pedestal fan comes over and blows over the whole setup. So I've talked about the automation that I have tied in through my home automation. It's absolutely not necessary. But for me, I already have an automation system, so adding these few things like a power strip or each individual plug is controllable. I have each light plugged into a separate one. The fan is plugged into another. I can add 2 or 3 more things. So based on the sensors that I have, turns the fan on and off, turns the lights on and off on a schedule. I can control it through an app on my phone. I can view it through the computer. I can receive notifications when the soil moisture goes low. Lots of different things. It's fun. It does take some of the fuss out of it, but it's absolutely not necessary. I think I've covered everything that's pretty obvious here in my seed starting process, my germination station. This has worked for the last few seasons for me. It's simple, it's accessible, it fits the space that I currently have. This shelf paired with our small greenhouse works well for our small garden. If you don't have space for this or a greenhouse to move them to, there's absolutely nothing wrong with buying your transplant at a local nursery or a local hardware store. Support your local community, save some time. Seeds are much cheaper. The process is a little bit more, for me, fulfilling to see from start to end. I know exactly what I'm getting. If you're not already, consider subscribing so you don't miss any of the content we have as the season progresses. We have seed starters right now. It's still in the 20s outside. We have some of the spring gardens started. We're starting to see garlic come up through the bedding. We're going to be pulling that back pretty soon. We've got a lot of stuff in store for this season. So come on back next time as we keep on working toward a better Terra, one seedling at a time.